Welcome to The Creative Present, a show that's dedicated to expanding your creative self-expression and at the same time, getting your projects done. And I'm your host, Joshua Townshend. We are doing a short series, a 4-part series on the creative element. And everyone has a creative element that's unique to you as your primary go-to. And the best way to check it out is to go to the website, my website, joshuatownshend.com, and take the free 2-minute quiz. And within a couple minutes, you'll know, or you'll have confirmed, your creative element. And it's going to be either water, fire, earth, or air. So let's get into the one that's all about you. Okay, my fiery little devils, I'm so glad you're here. So, fire is your primary or dominant creative element. I love that. Now, what makes fire unique? What makes fire fire? One of the most interesting things about fire is that it requires 2 fuel sources to even exist. So, as a creative that leads with fire, it's so important for you to have 2 things. And those 2 things are air, oxygen, and a fuel source, some kind of energy that you're burning. So let's talk about air. So the relationship between fire and air is vital, because if you want to fan the flames of fire, you can do so by giving it more air, more oxygen, by pumping it up. But at the same, conversely, if you want to extinguish the fire, you can just withdraw all the air out of the room and the fire will suffocate. So your relationship to air, and what I mean by air, I mean ideas, communication, choices, space, right? All those things, you need to have a balanced amount, not too much, because if you have too much, it's going to fan the flames and it could make it spread, make your energy spread too wide, or it could actually, blow it out if it gets really crazy and the fire hasn't been developed enough. Or if it's too little oxygen, you can diminish the flame and make it go out. The other thing that the fire element that you need in order to be your best in terms of creativity is that you need an energy source. You need a fuel source that you're going to burn with the air. So if you don't have anything to burn, right, then fire doesn't exist. In the gasoline combustion engine, you need a mixture of fuel, which is gasoline, and air. If you don't have both of those with the spark, right, from the spark plug, then there's no engine. And you're the same way. So what fuel source do you need? That's really important. That's something that's only you can answer. It's very customized. It's very specific to you. We're asking a bit of self-awareness here. So what fuel source do you need? So let's talk about that for a moment. That could look like food. It could look like beverages. It could be looks like time alone. It could look like connecting to music or nature, having some kind of practice that you enjoy. But whatever it is, you need to identify it so that when you start feeling burned out or you just don't feel that spark, you can reignite yourself using air and your particular fuel source. The other thing is that there's different kinds of fire. There's different kinds of expressions of fire. And I want you to start opening up to different ways of expressing your fire element, because fire, is always connected with the sun, right? And so we think of people as being warm-hearted, or someone's angry, they get hot-headed, right? So the fire element, the heat element is all around us. We go and have fire in the fireplaces. We have a hearth. We use cooking, which is part of a fire element. And then if fire element is not balanced, then you can burn your food, right? You can burn down your house. If the fire escapes the fireplace, you can burn down a house. So it's really a strong relationship between you finding your balance as fire in your creative expression, because heat or fires can draw people in, right? When it's cold, you warm people up. People are naturally drawn to the heat. And then, of course, if the heat gets too intense, then people run away. So here are the takeaways. Make sure to give yourself a fuel source that you connect with, that feeds you. Make sure that your air element is also taken care of. I'd like you to pace yourself so you don't burn out, because that's really important, because a lot of fire people can only work for a certain amount of time and then they just, so there's other kinds of expressions when it comes to a fire. You can be smoldering, you can be smoky, or on the other side, you can be out of control, right? The main thing I want you to take away today is, since your fire element can be such a drawing agent, can draw people, places, opportunities to you with ease and grace, I really want you to start to find that self-awareness, that customized balance for you as a human being, so that your fire element can start working for you. And when you find that sweet spot, you'll start to see all kinds of synchronicities lining up to support you and your creative expression. Thank you for listening. If you love what you're listening to, please subscribe and then share with fellow creatives. For more, go to joshuatownsend.com.